Hey everyone, how you doing today? The next technique we're going to do is called a variegated wash, or also sometimes called a color to a color switch. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with one color at the top, and then we're going to gradually switch to another color as we go down. So for this one, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have all of our paints pre-mixed. We don't want to be mixing this once we start. So I'm going to be switching from green to blue. But notice I have another color over here. What's going to help this work is that you have a mixture of green and blue, so blue-green or green-blue, whatever you want to say. I'd probably say blue-green, already mixed over here. So I've got my green that I'm going to start with. I'm going to eventually transition into this blue-green that I've pre-mixed, and then in the end it's going to transition into blue. The technique is very similar to the flat wash and the graded wash. So again, the important things are ratio, your ratio of paint to water, the tilt, and the bead. So with a variegated wash, you always want to start with your lightest color first. So green is my lightest color. I'm going to start with green. I want to make sure that I load my brush and I give myself a good start by making sure that my bead is nice and strong. Again, I have drawn this long and skinny rectangle. I'm giving myself a boundary to try and stay within. I've said it several times now. It is really good practice to learn how to control the paint, especially if you want to be able to paint realistically. So I'm going to go a couple inches down, a little ways down, and then I'm going to add in my blue-green. Again, above, just like we did with the graded wash. Now I'm going to add in some blue. Whoa, went out of my lines there. So I have green, transitioning. I'm not going to make it to the end. That'd be a lot of blue, so that's kind of a mistake on my part. I've got the excess at the bottom. I'm going to squeegee that up, dry my brush, try and pick up that excess. So we have green transitioning into blue. So I could do this with any two colors. I could do this with analogous colors like this. So I could do blue transitioning into violet. So I would mix up a puddle of blue, I would mix up a puddle of violet, and I would mix up a puddle of blue-violet. I could do this with complements. I could have red transitioning into green. So I would mix up a puddle of red, I would mix up a puddle of green, and then I would mix up a combination of red and green together. It's probably going to make kind of like a gray-brown. So I would start with my green, eventually I would add my mixture of green and red, and then it would switch to red. So try this out. When you try this, there's two things I want you to do. I want you to do a couple of them using analogous colors. Remember, analogous colors are colors that are close to each other on the color wheel. And I want you to do a couple of them with complements. Remember, complements are opposite each other on the color wheel. And when you mix complements together, you get shades of gray, sometimes brown, depending on the complements. If you ever are going to use gray in your art, it is a great idea to mix your own grays by mixing complements together instead of just mixing white and black together. By mixing your own grays, you're your grays are going to be a lot more colorful than they would. They'll have hints of color in them, unlike if you just use tube white and tube black. The other thing I want you to do is, once you get the hang of it, I want you to try and draw out some sort of more complicated shape besides just the long and skinny rectangle, and try and do the same technique, same variegated wash within the shape, staying within the confines, is that a word? Of the shape. I hope you have fun with this, and I'll talk to you next time.